Hello everyone, welcome back to Coders Project. Today we're solving a classic problem from LeetCode, the Pascal's triangle. This problem is all about building one of the most iconic mathematical patterns step by step. So I'm going to explain you everything in detail. So whether you're a beginner or an experienced coder, you'll be able to understand and implement this easily. Let's dive in. Quickly pause the video and take a look at this question. Okay, so we're given an integer num rows. We need to return the first num rows of the Pascal's triangle. In Pascal's triangle, each number is the sum of two numbers directly above it. So what is a Pascal triangle? It's a triangle where the first row has a single 1, and then each number in the subsequent row is the sum of two numbers directly above it, and the first and last number in the row is always 1. So keeping all the first and last rows the number to be 1, we're going to calculate the middle elements. So each middle element is the sum of the two elements above it. So this one is going to be 1 plus 1, which is 2. This is going to be the sum of these two, and this is going to be the sum of these two, and we're going to calculate remaining elements. Okay, so how exactly are we going to solve this? We need to start with the first row as 1, and then we're going to loop to generate the subsequent rows, and the first and last elements of a row are always 1, and then each element in between these ones is the sum of two elements directly above it. We need to keep building the rows until we have the num rows. Um, Observe that how each row is derived from the previous row. Keeping that in mind, we're going to start solving this question. Okay, so we have a function generate. It's taking num rows, and we are printing out a list of integer. So let's handle the base case first. If our num rows is 1, then the triangle has only the first row, so we can return 1 immediately. So if num rows is equal to 1, we can return our list of integer, which is 1, and then we're going to initialize the triangle now with our first element or first row. So this serves as our starting point for building the subsequent rows. And now we're going to generate the rows. We're going to use a for loop to generate the rows starting from the second row, which is I is equal to 1. So for I in range 1 until our num rows, we're going to calculate the previous row, which is the last row in the triangle. We'll use this to calculate the new row, and then we're going to set our new row initially to 1 because the first element is always 1. So previous row is going to be our triangle of -1, and our new row is going to be 1. Okay, now we're going to calculate the middle element. So we're going to iterate over our previous row, excluding the first and last positions. And then for each of those positions, we're going to calculate the new element, which is going to be sum of our previous row, that index -1, plus our previous row. So for j in range 1 till length of our previous row, new row dot append previous row of j -1 plus previous row of our j. So for each position in j, we calculate the new element as our sum of previous row of j -1 plus our previous row of j, and then we're going to append this result to our new row, and then we're going to add the last element. The last element of every row is always 1, so we can just append it to our new row. So new row dot append 1, and then now we're going to add the row to the triangle. Triangle dot append new row Once we have built the new row, we can add it to our triangle, and then we can go ahead and return our triangle. All right, so what we're doing here is we are first creating our triangle over here. Before that, we're checking if the number rows is equal to 1. If it is, we are returning 1. And then getting into our loop, we are using a for loop to generate the rows starting from the second row. And then our previous row is the last row in the triangle, which we'll use to calculate the new row. And our new row will start with 1 because the first element is always 1. And then we are iterating over our indexes of our previous row from 1 till our previous row, excluding the first and last positions. For each of those positions, we calculate our new element, which is going to be sum of our previous row of index minus 1 plus our current index position. And then we're going to append this to our new row. And finally, we go ahead and add the last element. The last element of every row is always 1. So we append it to our new row. And after we do that, we go ahead and add our current row to our triangle. So that's going to be triangle.append of our new row. And once the triangle is built, we go ahead and return the triangle. And finally, after the loop finishes, we have our complete triangle. Let's go ahead and run the code. Okay. All right, all our test cases are passed. So the time complexity for this is going to be big O of n squared. Since we have two inner loops, looping, the first loop is pretty much checking from our range of 1 till our number rows, and then again we are looping from 1 till our previous rows. So it's going to be big O of n squared because all the rows are stored in the triangle after going through it twice, and that's how we generate the Pascal's triangle. This problem is great. It's pretty great exercise for you to learn how patterns work and how to apply loops effectively. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your questions or suggestions. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.